It's Monday, the 29th, July, 2019. It's Monday, man. I'm all right. Today was a good day. I'm not going to let the events of today stop me, but today was a good day. Until the end of the day. It's still a good day. I just know that there's going to be some conversations about today. So let me start from the top. This project launched July. This project that I've been working on, that I've been speaking about in the last couple of videos. I've been working on this project since I got to this position. I would say about April, I had a lot of things done early. Things that could not be moved upon until late June, beginning of July, right? And it's not uncommon for projects to run like that. You prep, and then execution should go smooth. This project, unfortunately, did not have the smoothest executions, and it's for a number of reasons. But I'm only gonna look at the part that I played, right? Because that's the part of self-reflection. And I want to make sure that before I complain about things, that I stand in my truth and I look at what part I played in the situation, whether it was good or bad. So on my part, being that this project was very large in scope, and there was many people involved, and that there were many departments involved, and that there were many organizations outside of the one that I belong to involved, I should have communicated exactly what I was planning to do, not only in an email, but in writing, in black and white, with signatures. And that's what I failed to do. I failed to really have people sign off on these changes or on these plans that I then implemented from April and July. I did not get signatures. And this was a learning step for me, because I've been a part of projects before, and I've been part of large projects very much before, and it was never we were able to communicate and work in a fashion where it didn't require such tedious authorization. I'm gonna leave it at authorization, right? It didn't require such an extensive authorization, right? It was between me and the entities that I was working with at the time. We would get a sign off, and then whenever those changes went into play, that was the changes. And for good, bad, or indifferent, we stuck with those changes, and we would learn from it, right? We'd conduct our after action review, and we would learn and make changes accordingly from there. But this is the first time where I've had such a large project to where so many people are involved, and so many people will say yes, perfect, blah blah blah. They'll yes me to death, and then when things get put into place, they would then go back and say, no, we want to change. And then they would want things changed that didn't really fall within scope. But still, back to the part that I am responsible for, right? The part that I play in. So I really should have created everything I needed to create, plan it out how I needed to plan it out, and then really print and have everybody that really would have had a hand in it, any shareholder in it, to sign off on it. Okay? And to physically actually put their pen to paper and sign off on it. Because what I did was show everyone what the changes were. I printed it out. I showed everyone. Everyone said, "Oh, this looks great." Got to go. Didn't get any signatures. I saved the file, and that was it. Right? That was set in stone. So when launch came or time to implement, we just went. We went with it. That was it. So that's where I failed to really get down into business. That's where I failed to really communicate, and it was a lesson well learned, and I will never make that same mistake twice. So now we fast forward. All this planning took place in April. We launched in July, and now it's July 29th, end of the month, and we are still dealing with issues that should not have been an issue at this point. And what I've come to discover, that it's not just my failure of communication, but failure for other people's communication, and adding in too many people in the first place. So now this is where we're at. There's a phone line called ABC. ABC is our go-to phone line, and that's the phone line that we should be using to then we should be using that phone line to have patients communicate with the offices, right? We have 2 offices. There is an entity that exists not within ABC, but it exists adjacent to ABC. We're going to call it XYZ. XYZ, the initial intent was that if you call XYZ, you can get to ABC from there. If you call ABC, you get to XYZ, and vice versa. The problem is that I was responsible for ABC, and I was told that XYZ was handled by a different entity. Well, the miscommunication came in part because XYZ, the entity for XYZ, assumed that I would be taking responsibility for both ABC and XYZ, even though I was told that that is not my area of responsibility. Cool. Again, it wasn't in writing that I was taking care of XYZ, nor was it in writing that I would be taking care, that entity would be taking care of XYZ. So XYZ had an unknown ownership, right? And that's always a problem in project management. Always a problem. But I digress. The bottom line is that the prompts for XYZ were supposed to be changed by the entity. The entity did not change XYZ. Therefore, when patients call ABC and they hit an option for XYZ, they would then get another option that led them back to a separate office's ABC. That ABC would then tell them to call my office's ABC. And then that ABC would then have a vicious cycle of rotating between those 3 call centers. So you had ABC1, I'll be ABC1. So we had ABC1, ABC2, and then XYZ. XYZ had prompts to go through ABC2, and ABC2 had a direction to go to ABC1. And because we had 3 options, and it wasn't a closed loop, patients would just cycle through those 2 in that order. ABC1 through XYZ, then ABC2. Vicious cycle. Went on for about 10 days before it went on for that end of the week, and then I closed the loop. I got the loop closed. Boom. What I wasn't expecting for was the entity to then turn around and then speak to one of my brand new managers and then say, hey, I need you to fix XYZ. This is improper. And I think the entity wasn't really depending on the new manager then to come to me and say, hey, I need some help. Can you fix this? And then me look at it and say, I fixed this problem. Why are you handling it? And she goes, no, well, the entity wants us to handle XYZ. So now I had to really go back and look, and I said, no. XYZ is not our area of responsibility. We're responsible for ABC1, ABC2. XYZ is responsible by the entity. She should be the one handling. Oh no, well, she told me to handle it. So I'm just trying to be on that person's good side because I have to work closely. And I said, great. I completely understand. However, being that you are a new manager, you are setting up yourself for a dangerous precedence with taking care of areas of responsibility without without really understanding what the process is. So I left it up to her. I go, if you go down that road and fix XYZ, you would then need to fix ABC1. Not only would you need to fix that, but then you need to get other departments involved outside of our own, instead of dealing with the vendor directly. And then the vendor would become co-reliant on the other departments to finish their share. And now that we close the project out, you would essentially need to open up a new project because this project is already set and closed. And any changes that the vendor would be doing, it would be because him and I, or we have a great rapport. She understood that. She made her decision. It wasn't right or wrong. It was her decision. But I will take responsibility for her decision, because that's what leaders do, right? So I take responsibility for her decision, and I tell her, and I say, all right, good job. So just so that we're clear, these are the changes that we made. We made a simple change to ABC to close the loop. So now, if patients were patients that called ABC1 looking to get to XYZ, they would no longer get to XYZ because XYZ didn't change their phone prompts. They would then stay within ABC1, and ABC would then route to our office, and our offices would then take the messages and pass them to the appropriate place. Yes, that's exactly how it is. Perfect. I'm going to put this in an email. I put this in an email on Friday. No response, no response, no response. Marketing calls us, or sends an email today. Hey, we have this phone number. It shouldn't exist at this point. Why are we still using it? I'm taking it off all of our marketing. Is there a reason for it? No response. I respond back. Karen, I understand your concern, but no, please note that XYZ and ABC1 are no longer connected. Any patients looking to speak to ABC1 will get ABC1. Any patients calling ABC1 looking for XYZ will no longer be able to get to XYZ. XYZ has had no changes made to their phone prompts or their phone tree. Unfortunately, XYZ was not part of the project scope, so I did not make any changes to it. Send my email out. I get a text message close to the end of the day. Hey, call me about this phone prompt. All right, cool. Hey, I just want to let you know that, I spoke with your manager, and this is what she puts, and this is what I told her to fix. Yeah, I understand, but that's not what we fixed. That's not what we fixed. No, but I spoke to her about it, and she said she'll take care of it, so you want to speak to her. Hangs up. All right, 45 minutes go by. I'm checking my emails finally, right? Because I've been working all day. Check my emails. I noticed that she CCs everyone from marketing and everyone else involved, saying that I was incorrect on how the phone tree exists. So I said, no, this is incorrect. So let me go ahead and make a phone call back, because now I'm starting to put piece to piece together that the entity wanted us to take responsibility for XYZ. And because of the sidebar conversation she had with a brand new manager who was just trying to make a great impression, because she is a great manager, just trying to make a great impression, she tried to get that manager to take responsibility over something that's not her responsibility, something that she wasn't, information that she wasn't privy to prior to her taking this position. So I call the entity. I said, hey, listen, I see the email. I'm sure we're not connecting dots here. So I'm calling so that way we can be clear. We did not make any changes to XYZ. XYZ exists outside and alone outside of ABC1 and ABC2. Patients can't get to XYZ from ABC1. Why not? I'm not understanding why that happened. That's not what Courtney promised me. I go, Courtney didn't make any promises to you. In fact, Courtney came to me and said, hey, what's happening? I need to know what's going on. Help me out. I helped her. And that's how I helped her. I helped her because our area of scope and our area of responsibility is ABC1, not XYZ. So we didn't make any changes to ABC. We didn't make any changes to XYZ. We only made changes to ABC1. And ABC1 is now a closed loop. So even if patients start off at XYZ and end up back at ABC2, then to be routed to ABC1, they get stuck at ABC1. So it's finally a closed loop, and there shouldn't be any more discussion about it. This obviously upset the entity, because the entity thought that she was going to be able to then have XYZ fall under the responsibility of our area, and I just wasn't having it. It wasn't that I wasn't having it, but it was just something that I planned, and I sat down in front of everybody, and I showed everybody what was happening, and everyone came to agreement of that would be the plan that takes place. and that for the other half of it, for XYZ, well, that was the plan that was taking place. People insisted that XYZ needed to be a part of ABC1. So I made an option for ABC1. However, it was very clear that that XYZ was not going to be handled by us. It wasn't going to be handled. Those prompts and stuff would have had to go through the hospitals, or the entities, channel, line of command, or however they get the process to get telecommunications done. Because it had nothing to do with us. It wasn't our area of responsibility. So I know, so now that I've been here for a few months and I see the kind of person that I am dealing with, and I see the kind of entity that I'm going to have to work with from going forward, because it's not like this is going to be our last project. It's going to be many projects. It's just one of many that's coming up. Because we're launching another center, and it's not just that area of responsibility. I'm sure that there's going to be an entity at each location that I'm going to have to deal with at some capacity or another. So the entity has taught me that I need to be better at communicating things, and things that I am looking to communicate, it needs to be done in black and white and in pen and paper. And that pen and paper then needs to be scanned and followed up with, and make sure that everyone understands that this was done. Because I never ever want to be a part of a project that does not get done after the project's closed out. It shouldn't happen. That's not how good project management works. And I understand that this may have happened because of my lack of communication. So for that, I have learned. And I do apologize for that. But I do know that I will never make that same mistake again. And because I know that what I am really dealing with, I'm going to be able to make those changes. And I'm never going to be put in a situation where I am then allowing somebody else to add to the already massive project and scope. Not going to happen. So we'll see. It'll be interesting going forward. It will be interesting going forward. So we'll see. Yeah. It's going to be interesting going forward. It will be. Because I know that this is going to probably turn into a conversation with a couple of the higher ups, a couple of executives asking what exactly happened, and then I have to go back to the notes and see exactly what was happening with it. But the moral of the story is really, really quite simple. There was a job. That job was relayed onto me, but a sub-layer of that job was responsibility of the entity, and the entity did not take corrections to change it. And because the entity didn't change it, it didn't get done, and it caused a few issues. And those issues were really because of one employee cannot get their act together in a sense of, I'm part of a team, let me work together to resolve this, come up to a resolution instead of complaining about it and causing a problem. So with that being said, the error in this project was me not thoroughly communicating and getting what other people's area responsibility was in writing. It wasn't the only fault at play. I wasn't the only one at fault in here. And it will be once if things go to pass and trying to investigate on what happened, they'll see quite easily and quite frankly that it wasn't just my area of my lack of communication. So it would be interesting to see how that goes. That's it, man. I am feeling, you know what? I'm going to change my feeling, because I'm not feeling bad. I'm not feeling, upset. I'm not frustrated anymore. I was feeling frustrated, but if anything, I feel educated. Educated, yeah, and it's not even in a I don't know. I guess when someone's educated, right, there's always that extra layer of uppityness to it, and it's not even that. I feel educated in the sense of there has been a problem. I've been trying to understand this problem. I don't see why everyone else is having a problem with it, but now I see the lack of detail or the lack of communication on my part, or at least I could see how that could come into play. I see the lack of communication on my part. I should have said, this is your area of responsibility, blah blah blah. Please let me know if there's anything else. Because had that been properly communicated, then someone probably would have said, hey, no, I'm not going to, if the entity said, no, I'm not going to take responsibility of it, you guys have to, I would have said, perfect. And I would have gotten rid of that line altogether. And if people were really, really looking for the mainline health employees, or if they were really, really looking to have that phone tree modified and existing within the current one, then I would have added extra options to it, so that way patients can still get to it. Because now how it sits is that if they are looking for anyone a part of XYZ, they're not going to get to XYZ. They have to know that person's direct extension, or they have to know that XYZ exists on their own and call XYZ directly, and XYZ will be and then know to hit the proper prompts for XYZ. Because to go through the trouble of having all the phone trees, not just redirected, but also re-recorded, you might as well just go in and keep that line for yourselves and just keep it, instead of having just a one re-recording change, just change the whole thing, being that you're going to go through the trouble of having all these departments in there anyway. But, I'm not here to make other people's jobs hard or easier. I'm here to do the work that needs to be done under my area of responsibility. Because it's not like it's hard work. It's just there's a lot of players. There's a lot of players involved. There's a lot of people that get involved in these projects, and when a project gets launched, there's a lot of planning that goes involved. And for the most part, I did all the planning. And for the most part, not for the most part, but for all the parts, for everything, I did all the planning. I made all the spreadsheets. I made the flow charts. I made all the diagrams. I made all of the scripting and everything else. And everybody just said, yep, this is good. This is good. This is good. What I didn't do is actually follow up with it and say, nah, I need you guys to sign off on these changes because I don't want anything to come back. And not only that, I also need everyone to know what part they have to play in all of these, to make all these things a reality. So I think I just took on too much responsibility. Well, not that I took on responsibility that I was supposed to. I just didn't look at anything else. I didn't look at how the other players were going to react to everything that I've done, because I had everything done. Everything was done. But everyone was expected to play their part, and they did. So with that being said, if they didn't play their part and they're supposed to play their part, then I'm going to hold them accountable for it. I'm going to hold them to it. It's not my responsibility to make sure people get the job done right, and it's not my responsibility to make sure to sign people. But it's also not my responsibility to take on every single thing from every single aspect of it. And I like to think that I'm very thorough, and I was very thorough. It was a very thought out plan. It came together. There were certain things that I didn't anticipate in terms of volume that we were able to get it corrected. But as far as other people taking responsibility of it, that has to happen, and that didn't happen. And it's not my responsibility to make sure they take responsibility for it. And even now, because of people's how long people's been with the organization, I'm fairly new. I'm sure that they're going to try to say, well, it's Armand's fault because Armand didn't take responsibility. And I would take responsibility only in the things that I contributed to, which is my affiliated communication. But as far as other entities taking responsibility on what should have happened, it should have been them. And I'm pretty sure an investigation on it everyone will be able to, everyone involved will be able to see that. And that's something that I'm going to put on my AAR when I do have my one-on-one with certain people. When I do have my one-on-ones with certain people, someone asks me, hey, how was this guy? What happened with this project, blah, blah, blah. That's one thing I'm going to say, that I failed to communicate in writing what other people's area of responsibility. And as someone that has a familiarity, a familiar familiar outlook with project management, I'm never going to let that happen again. Never going to let it happen again. It's going to have to be someone's responsibility, whether they like it or not. So that's it. That's all I got. 25 minutes of just me talking shit. I got like 40 minutes of videos today. I did 10 minutes in the morning, so 35. 10 minutes in the morning and 26 now. So it's a good day.